Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Robust Opposition. This is McCarthyite Maddow substituting for Lauren Steiner, who happens to be out covering some sort of rally for a public bank. Why we need a public bank when Wall Street does such a great job, I'll never know, but such is the case. Anyway, normally I would want to talk about Russia on my show, like I've done every night for an hour for the past 2 years. However, we have some candidates on the show who are running in the state of California, and they call themselves progressives. Now, you know, I never use the word progressive. I'm a liberal, actually a neoliberal, but I don't want to admit that to my viewers. So anyway, the candidates that we have are right here, and their names are Maria Estrada and Rodolfo Cortes. Now we're going to get into your bios before we start asking the tough questions that only I, McCarthyite Maddow, are known to ask. So now, Maria Estrada is an activist that is running in the 63rd District against the Speaker of the Assembly, Anthony Rendon. In the June 5th primary, her district had the highest increase of voters in the state, and she received over 40% of the Democratic vote. That means that Rendon got 60%, folks. Now, Rodolfo is an immigrant to the U.S., an immigrant. You know how Trump is always doing things to those immigrants. We must talk about Trump, 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 because he is the most horrible thing in the country today. Anyway, he was born in Mexico, coming to the U.S. at the age of 8. He is the first in his family to graduate from college, earning a PhD in psychology from Stanford. He is a federally sponsored scientist working on his own NSF, that must stand for National Science Foundation, grant to understand the origins of generosity in early childhood. Okay, neither of you are professional politicians, so why do you think you deserve to be, Rodolfo, let's start with you, in the U.S. Congress?
Indeed, I am not a professional politician, and that's actually what we need in Congress. We need regular people to go out there into their communities, get that clipboard, get those signatures, and talk to people about the issues that actually matter. We have had these people that have been there for decades, and they're not helping anyone in the community. They're just helping their donors, the big banks. That's certainly the case here in California's 40th Congressional District. It's too much for too long. We need to stand up for working families. That's why I'm running.
You're an activist. Why do you think you're entitled to be in the Assembly in California?
I'm not entitled to anything. I'm fighting to be represent my community, and because I am an activist is exactly why I feel I'm more qualified. Politicians are there to serve themselves and the corporate interests. They're not here to serve us and our communities, and that's you know, pretty obvious. In our area, my district overlaps his congressional district, and considering the condition of the environment of our schools, homelessness, poverty, economic struggles, it's pretty obvious that the politicians that are there right now are failing us badly. So the fact is that we need people who are, you know, part of the community, that understand what's happening, that are from here, that recognize what the community needs, that's listening to them, and that's going to fight for what is best for them. They're, you know, both Rodolfo and I are very active with the Paramount Coalition.
Hold on a second. I'm going to get to that. Let me ask the questions around here. This is my show. And for those of you who are just tuning in, this is McCarthyite Maddow, subbing for Lauren Steiner, who's off covering some sort of rally for public banks, or, you know, repealing Costa-Hawkins, making more rent control. I don't know what's wrong with having the rent control that we have now. It seems to me that it should be enough. I mean, after all, the real estate developers are making a lot of money off that. But anyway, back to my questions here. So getting into what Maria was starting to talk about, which are the concerns of your constituents, I would say that Anthony Rendon and Royball-Allard do a great job representing the Democratic Party. Why do you think she ought to do something so radical like represent her constituents? How is she not representing her constituents?
She's representing the Democratic Party, not the people. I have no loyalty to any party. My loyalty is to the people of the 63rd District. And if I were to become assembly person, I'd be loyal to the state of California and the people of the state. People are more loyal to the party than they are to the people. And when your party becomes more important to you than the people that you were elected to serve, you're no longer of use to the community. And that's exactly what we have going on. The reality is that none of these politicians represent these communities. They're very aware of what's happening, the economic struggles. You could look at the gas tax, which is a regressive tax that these people can't afford. Nobody can afford that tax. Why are we having to pay more taxes when we know the wealthy aren't paying enough taxes? Corporations, big oil are making record profits and they're not paying taxes. And yet the Democratic Party saw it fit and the speaker pushed this bill through to increase a gas tax on the community for infrastructure repair, and I'm totally against it. I'm not against infrastructure repair. I'm against taxing us when the people of the state of California are already financially struggling. You just said that rent's too high, that we need rent control. So if people can't pay rent and the gas is too high, and rent's too high, and food's going up, everything's going up, and salaries are stagnant, how do they expect people to survive? It's illogical.
I was told this Maria Estrada is a troublemaker. I've already lost control of my own interview. Nobody does that to Rachel Maddow. They don't pay me $7 million a year to lose control of an interview. Are you kidding?
How much taxes do you pay, Rachel? How much in taxes do you pay?
Never mind that.
Probably.
Let's talk about Donald Trump's taxes, Jared Kushner's taxes. But forgetting about that for a minute, let's get to Rodolfo. Let him speak. Rodolfo, why do you think this Lucille Allard is not representing her constituents? And how are you going to represent them better?
So she is a perfect representative for the Democratic Party. Because she is indeed taking those corporate donations from the worst companies that we know, the companies that get rich off of the deaths of brown and black people all around the world. We're thinking like Northrop Grumman here and Lockheed Martin. They literally make a profit each time we fire those missiles. The Democratic Party has for a long time, for decades, been the party of the military-industrial complex. So she perfectly represents those interests. So I am standing up for the community, and I'm saying, hey, we've been, we're the most Latino congressional district in the land, and we've been Democrats for a very long time. But when you look at the results of that one-party rule of a corporate party, you really do see that the community is going downhill. Everything, we're polluted. People can't afford the rent. People can't afford to go to college or to pay their medical bills. So we're going downhill, and it's all because of the Democratic Party. We are ruled by the Democratic Party, and my opponent happens to really embody that, given that she, some people say that she inherited her seat essentially from her father, who was the original Latino politician who aligned himself with the Democratic Party instead of third party socialist left-leaning parties. So I think that I am offering the community a very different alternative. I'm offering them a way forward economically, socially, environmentally. We have to realize that all this pollution that the Democratic Party encourages by taking those corporate donations is really about to kill us. It's going to kill us as a species if we don't act very soon. So that's why I'm pushing a green platform, green energy, renewable energy. We have to say no to the Democratic Party. It's enough. They've wrecked our society, our world enough. It's time for something different. We need new parties, no parties, whatever it is. But we can't have the Democratic Party continue to destroy our community.
Yes, but what about Russia? We must talk about Russia, because Russia is the biggest threat to our democracy, don't you think, Maria?
I think AIPAC is. AIPAC, you got a lot of corporate interests, money in politics. There's a lot of outside factors that are affecting our electoral system and our elections and our legislature far more than Russia, and no one's doing anything about that. And if you're worried about elections, what about the DNC and all of the corruption that occurred in the 2016 elections? Here in California, what happened in the primaries in 2016? I mean, Alex Padilla should not be in that position, and the fact that he's already endorsed Gavin Newsom for governor is completely inappropriate, and it should be against the law for anyone in that position to endorse any candidate. It's a conflict. But that being said, we need to focus on the real problems and not these false narratives. Anytime you turn on the TV, I don't own a TV, I'll be honest, but anytime you turn something on, everybody talks about Trump and the Republicans. But the Republicans and the Trump don't control the state, and they haven't for a long, long time. So we need to address the real problems that are affecting us and the people that are in control. And like I said, party affiliation is really not relevant, because people are so loyal to a party like a gang. You're either red or blue, blood or Crip, Democrat or Republican, and that's how they think, and at the expense of the community. And people are literally dying. There's a ethnic cleansing going on here. It's been going on for decades. Companies are being allowed to poison these communities, all the way from southeast, from the Long Beach port to East LA, Boyle Heights, and whether it's hexavalent chromium-6, arsenic, pollutants that are in the air from all of the freeways and the traffic here, to the lead that's in the water in Compton, and the Exide plant that has it in the soil. It's everywhere. They're poisoning our environment, our bodies, our air, our water, everything. And no one is being held accountable. No companies are being shut down. Nobody's being criminally held responsible. And the agencies that our tax dollars paid for, like the AQMD, like this DTSC and EPA and Cal OSHA, are completely negligent in what they're supposed to be doing. They're not protecting the community. They're not protecting workers, and people are literally dying. And it's primarily in Black and brown communities, and all of these politicians are allowing it.
I used to cover these issues before I started getting paid the big bucks not to do it. I remember when I covered the emergency managers that those Republican governors were putting in. I remember when I covered those nuclear sleeves that the fracking industry was putting on the roadside in North Dakota. I remember when I did that kind of good journalism. But right now, I'm focusing on Russia, because that's why they pay me the big bucks. You can leave these local issues to Lauren Steiner. She'll be back next show. The other day, she covered those Whole Food workers, trying to form a union. I don't know why they would want to form a union. They just got paid $15 an hour. Bezos got him a raise, thanks to that Bernie Sanders. I didn't support Bernie Sanders during the primary. I made him look bad every chance I could get. Hillary was my gal. Yes, Hillary has a lot of experience as a politician, unlike you two. But you're making some good sense, so I'll let you go on. All right, let's talk to Rodolfo now. If you got into the Congress, Rodolfo, what would your priorities be, and what kind of committees would you want to get on? I
have 3 top priorities. Medicare for all. Everyone in this country, whether you have, you've been formally admitted by our immigration services or not, our Constitution allows for people to have that basic sense of protection. So we need single-payer healthcare, Medicare for all. In Canada, people get healthcare. In the United Kingdom, people have healthcare, and it's guaranteed for the people. That's what we need here. We also need what they call debt-free college. Germany now has free college. Free college is an investment in the future of our society and the success of our society. I believe that we must have that free college. And for those that have already been through college and now had student loan debt, like myself, we need student loan forgiveness. In the same way that we forgave the banks for crashing our economy, we have to forgive the students, and that will really help our economy. Then students will be able to spend that into the economy, and we'll grow the economy. So third, a federal jobs guarantee. The right to a job. For example, FDR was one of the first people in this century that talked about it, but it's been talked about increasingly. So everyone should be guaranteed a job. And this doesn't mean, a job that you're assigned to necessarily. You could create your own job. You could apply, maybe you want to create songs and the community wants you to create those songs. Maybe you want to care for your child. Maybe you want to care for your grandparent. whatever it is, you should be compensated for it. You should have no sense of economic anxiety. A federal jobs guarantee, jobs for everyone, jobs that are good paying and provide everyone with dignity and a space to really call their own and make it their own through the fruit of their labor to contribute in a positive way to the community.
You know what? That sounds like giving everybody a pony. Where have I heard those ideas before? Oh yeah, that Bernie Sanders. Well, anyway, Maria, why don't you tell us what your priorities would be once you got elected to the California Assembly?
Well, first we have to be fiscally responsible, and the fiscally responsible thing to do would be to switch to a single-payer healthcare system, because we know that 20% of the healthcare costs today doesn't actually go to healthcare. So by eliminating the healthcare industry, the insurance industry, that money could be used for federal jobs program, or a basic income for everybody in the state. If we are able to pay hundreds of millions and billions of dollars for every state, county, and city employee for their health care, and that's part of the single-payer system, it would save the state and every county and every city a lot of money, and that money could be used back into the communities. That's being fiscally responsible and making a lot of sense. Also, the environmental justice is part of my platform. It's a really big problem here. We have the highest rates of lung cancer and leukemia in all of LA County. We also have the highest rates of uninsured children in this area and the second highest rates of uninsured adults. Considering the fact that we have so many people with respiratory issues, diabetes, high rates of HIV, these things need to be addressed. And denying people health care, knowing that they're knowingly poisoning us, I think is criminal, and it's unjust. Criminal justice reform is absolutely necessary. We have it needs to be revamped completely. But for-profit prisons are a problem. They should be eliminated and outlawed. Detention centers, all of these Democrats in the state, just like the Republicans, are receiving money from the same companies. There is no difference. And they're allowing, and they've always known that this has been occurring. So it's not a Republican or a Democratic issue, it's a moral issue. And we have to decide if we're going to be a country.
That moral stuff, that sounds like that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Remember when she said nobody should be too poor to live? What an idealist. There's no room in politics for you idealists. Let me ask you something, Rodolfo.
There's no room in capitalism for this. Is the problem.
I'm the one who's 7 million. Getting back to my show. So now, Rodolfo, tell me how you think you, as a Green Party member, are going to get along with any Democrats once you get elected to Congress. I mean, look how they treated Bernie Sanders. He wasn't Green Party. He just was an independent. How do you think you're going to get anything done? And then I'll get to you later, Maria.
Right. So they kept saying, when Bernie tried to run, and I was a super Bernie supporter. I did everything that I personally could to get him elected. So I love the platform. I was rooting for him. So yes, of course, we saw that the Democratic Party didn't consider him a Democrat and didn't want to collaborate with him in any way. Well, he still got a lot of stuff done. He was the Amendment King, and really, he talked to Republicans, he talked to Democrats, and really tried to get the best he could for the people in his state and really for us nationally. So that's what I would do. At the electoral sense, yes, here, I'm telling people about what the Democratic Party has done, and my opponent in particular, she embodies the Democratic Party and its treasonous behavior against the working class, the Latino working class. So, I'm telling people about that. If I did have the privilege to serve, I would work across the aisle, because there's issues where we can find agreement. We can agree to that. We can have a better society. We get into the details. Oftentimes, both parties actually, they work across parties, and so. But that would, I think, put me in a very unique and leverageable position, to get major concessions, say from the Republicans, to help the working people.
How about you, Maria, when you've been knocking the Democratic Party, the California Democratic Party, the vice chair of the Democratic Party, all the Democratic Party establishments? How do you think you're going to be able to get anything done in Sacramento?
I'm going to take it to the people. The people are going to have to decide, and their constituents are going to be on them, because ultimately the things that we're advocating for is what majority of people want. So if we could do and put forth legislation that's going to help the people of the state of California, then that's exactly what we're going to do. And ultimately, like, the communities are going to have to decide if they're going to side with what we all want, or with a party. You know, you can't sit there and say you represent a party, because the party actually isn't what you're in office for. You're in office for your people. And the problem I see a lot of times is people are so blindly loyal to a party that they forget who they're supposed to be representing. The chair, the vice chair of the party, you know that I've filed a lawsuit against them. They don't even follow their own bylaws. The level of corruption in the party, in this state, they run this state like a mafia. They run these cities like a mafia, and something needs to be done about it. And you know, somebody says you're ruffling feathers. I'm just exposing the truth. It's all facts. If I'm lying, just point it out to me. But everything I state is a fact. And I'm not sitting here trying to bullshit anybody. I'm just telling the truth. Let the chips fall where they may. If it makes the Republicans look bad or the Democrats look bad, that's really not my problem. That's their problem. My position is I have to be honest with the people that I represent, because I have to at the end of the day, answer to them.
Who's funding your campaigns? Are you taking corporate money? I take corporate money. I take $7 million from Comcast every year to do this bullshit. Are you taking corporate money? Who's funding your campaigns, you two?
I've gotten donations from, you know, as small as $3. You know, I'm actually meeting with the PNHP doctors tomorrow.
As for positions for a national health policy.
Policy, yes. And they, I've actually met with them twice already. But they're having a big meeting tomorrow in Orange County, so I'm meeting with all of them. And
why don't you remind us what your opponent did? Because I don't think we discussed this, and why Physicians for a National Health Policy would be interested in funding your campaign.
He shelved the SB 562 single-payer health care, which would have provided everybody in the state health care, full medical, dental, vision, drug rehabilitation, mental health, and drug prescriptions, and it would have saved the state $37 billion.
That pony idea, always talking about that Medicare for all. How are we going to pay for it?
It's going to pay for itself, actually. I just said, if we know that we're paying $400 billion a year at minimum in the state collectively, and 20% of that goes to the healthcare industry, which doesn't provide healthcare, that's $80 billion off the bat that would be cut. So all of that money would go back into the healthcare industry. It's going into one pot, and it would be, for example, the state of California has the highest workers' comp rates in the country. Well, this would eliminate workers' comp, the insurance portion of workers' comp, which would be a huge savings for small businesses. Small business owners and all of their staff would have health care, I have friends who own restaurants, little shops, and their health care is, a friend of mine, him and his daughter, is $1,500 a month. That's a lot of money for a family. And people are, my family, I was just in Texas. I had a family telling me they pay $700 a month for their premium, and they have a $3,000 deductible before their insurance even kicks in. So, I mean, that's a lot of money for families who are struggling to get by. And you're adding the gas tax. And then you got to think about it this way. Being poor is expensive. When your child gets sick and you have to take off work and you don't have sick time and you miss work, that's a lot of pressure already being put on, strain, economic strain, and just having a child sick to begin with is stressful. And then to have to worry about how you're going to pay if you don't have sick time. And you know these kids are sick more than regular in other areas because these kids are being exposed to horrible environmental conditions, and air, and the water is bad. I mean, the water here, Simon Rodea High School. They can't drink the water out of those fountains because they have lead. You could go all over. There's a site and it tells you all the water, the lead levels in the water in every school in LA Unified. And most of the schools in Black and brown neighborhoods are high level lead content. And this is kids drinking this water, cumulative, at high levels. And yet if you go to Palisades, Pacific Palisades, which is in the same school district, their levels are 0.03, 0.04.
I got to cut you off here, Maria, because I think there may be some fossil fuel company people watching this show, and I know that they support my other show on MSNBC. So I don't want them to think I have anything to do with this conversation that's knocking my bread and butter here. Let's go to you, Rodolfo, for the last word. So how are you raising money, and how is your campaign going along?
Yeah, so like Maria, I've been raising from individuals. These are individuals all around the country within our district rallying together for this campaign, which is, of course, a federal campaign, which if I manage to hopefully break through and have the privilege to serve, I'm hoping that I'll be able to call for dramatic transformations to how it is that we're managing our national priorities, our national budget, instead of, spending $1.4 trillion in the Trump era for nuclear missiles and fighter jets and all that, which we have plenty of that stuff already. How about we spend it on healthcare and education?
Oh boy! Now you're touching the military-industrial complex. That is really my life's blood. Better stay away from knocking the defense industries. We need those defense industries because otherwise, Comcast and who's the other one that owns MSNBC? Ah, yeah, General Electric. They make all those war machines. Let's not knock them now, Rodolfo. All right, got to get rid of you two. This is making me look bad. Why don't you I want you to give you like another minute to sum up as to why people watching this should even consider voting for you. I've been putting up your websites, just in case there's somebody who wants to contribute or volunteer for your campaign. But why don't I give you the last word? First with Maria. www.mariaforassembly.org. And the registration deadline for California is October 22nd. Election day is November 6th. Everybody call in sick and go vote because they're not going to give you the day off. All right.
And I fully support Rodolfo's campaign for Congressional District 40, and I hope the people that support my campaign will also support him, because people need to recognize that having the same people in office over and over again is not working for us. It's just not. And we need change. We need drastic change immediately, and people that are going to go in and go in fighting hard. That's the only way we're going to bring change, because they're going to try to suppress and oppress us every chance they get.
So again, thanks for everyone watching. Thanks you for having me. So our campaign is a federally relevant campaign. So yes, it's relevant for everyone. I invite everyone, if you have some extra dollars or time in a phone bank, this is a campaign, if we were to win, and I do think that we can win if we get enough phone bankers, we will trigger a political earthquake in this country, the likes of which, have never truly been felt since perhaps the beginning of the country. So please, feel free to reach out, join our phone banking team. And yes, if you're in the area, please, come on out to our events and please help along. Maria, we overlap in 4 cities. That's about a third of the district for each of us. So we're both fighting for, for the people here and the people more generally. These are battles we can win and really, really take out the establishment. This is where it could happen in the most impoverished, polluted communities, fighting back against the system.
Well, it's been nice having you on. I've got to admit, you make some sense there, you two, but I can't do this show anymore. Lauren's going to have to find someone else to substitute, because these issues are you just go and getting too close to my corporate sponsors. That's what kinds of things we're talking about. So I'm going to wish you good luck, and I'm going to say goodbye to the audience.
Bye, Lauren. Have a good night.
No. That wasn't Lauren. This is McCarthyite Maddow here, substituting for Lauren Steiner because she's out covering some rally or something like that. I just want to let you know that if you really want to watch my show and talk about the problems that really make a difference in our democracy, which is Trump and Russia and those Facebook ads and Jared Kushner and the Mueller investigation. Yeah, I know it's been 2 years and they haven't turned up any collusion, but that doesn't mean anything. I can keep talking about it every night for an hour. But Lauren Steiner is going to be back next week. I'm sure she's going to have a show this week, but she told me she hasn't lined it up yet. But next Monday night, she's going to be down in San Diego. She's going on the road to interview, well, actually, to show a fundraiser of 2 other progressive candidates down in San Diego, James Elia for District 71 and Elizabeth Warren for District 76. So stay tuned to her page to find out who she's going to be interviewing later this week. And in the meantime, keep watching MSNBC because they are the corporate news network.